everyone, and welcome to the Thursday podcast of American Scouser. I am your host this week, Timucin from Chicago, and with me today we have Jamie. Jamie, what's happening with my least favorite yellow jersey I see?
Shush, lads. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Hard to beat. I liked it this Tuesday. That's one of the rare moments where I was like, you know what? That doesn't look that bad. Yeah. Oh, Elliot's. And yeah, on a good day for it, too. And also with us is David Rice. What's going on, Dave?
Just waiting for this final to come.
So
yes,
we were talking before, right as we went on air. Alan Walnuts. Alan's almost was that slightly late? I think I got 2 introductions in before Alan said greetings. By the way, so Alan's not on this game today. But we were talking about this. If you're watching us on video, otherwise you can go to our YouTube channel or go to our Facebook page and watch this. But the thing behind David's is we actually thought, and you even said nice flag, right, Jamie? Like when we first went,
Like, I mean, it caught my eye immediately.
And then we find out that is actually a painting that David has done. Dude, how long did that take you? That looks pretty kick-ass.
That one was maybe 3 weeks of like stenciling it, figuring out like the proportions and everything, and then like the actual painting. Because if you see like the shadowing on his arms is different shades, so it takes a little bit of work. I mean, I had one last final, and no one knows what happened to it. But
I do. Somebody's got it in their room.
It had Jurgen's face on it, and I'm more proud of it than anything I ever did because it looked almost like a photograph.
Look, David, I mean, I'm a bit of an artist as well. It looks amazing. Like I said, it caught my eye straight away. I'll give you a sneak preview. Like I love a bit of stencil work as well. So this is something I've done for my wife. Oh, you can't see it because it's white and there's a white screen.
I was going to say, we always see as well. That actually looks even cooler now because it's almost like a shadow over. That is pretty cool.
So it's like a Banksy ripoff, but listen, mate, that's amazing. This is like a tiny little piece of paper. That's a full flag that you take to games as well. That's amazing, mate.
Yeah, I wish I could show something, but I can barely make a stick figure. But I've shown like Jamie a couple of times. I actually shared in the Discord channel. Layla, my younger daughter, is just freaking amazing, and I have definitely not coming from my genes. I suck at this. Okay, so let's get to Jamie's 60 seconds first, and then we've got kind of like a lot to talk about. But Jamie, take it away.
Yeah, happy days, Reds. Let's get stuck straight in here. A lot of news coming out today that I'm sure all you true diehards have heard already, and we've already been talking about. But Divock has agreed his LFC exit. He's been heavily linked to AC Milan, as we all know. So hopefully we'll hear more about that in the coming few days. Gomez's injury, not as bad as first thought, which is great news to hear. Also, Fabinho, completely confident he's going to be ready for the Champions League final against Real Madrid. News out of the club today is Thiago's been named the Standard Chartered Player of the Month. Well done to him, the sexy beast. And also news today that the LFC Trophy Parade is announced, confirmed for the 29th, regardless of what happens in the coming weeks. Last but not least, legendary striker, top goal scorer, Ian Rush is the latest to be honoured on the streets of the walls surrounding Anfield with a mural. If you haven't seen it, go take a look. But for more deeper look into all these topics like Divock and all the rest of it, there's great content over there on AmericanScouser.com. Great articles and fresh content each week. So go get your fix.
Go get your fix is right. Especially we have like on a couple of things on Divock and more on the way, I think, because yeah, man, I'm going to miss that guy. I was actually, let's go into this lineup conversation, David. I was shocked not to see him because I almost felt like this would be perhaps the last time actually we do see him out there with the chance to when we were looking to rotate and stuff like that. So we see this lineup on Tuesday. What are your initial thoughts? Everything you expected it to be, or?
Yeah, it was. All right. Well, Minamino, I wasn't sure if he'd make the team. Thought he might go with Divock, but that was about what I expected in terms of changes. I had a feeling it was going to be heavy. The one that I just immediately took note of was Ox being on the bench. I just thought he didn't appear against Villa, and he doesn't appear against here. It doesn't appear again here. That's, to me, that's his LFC career done, essentially. Like I think it's a sign maybe that Jurgen doesn't trust him or whatever. But I just think if he had plans for him for the future, he'd have been involved in one of those two games, if not both. And Curtis Jones was involved, so I think it just tells you all you need to know, really.
He kind of goes out of his way, Jamie, to kind of like mention Taki and Ox almost like at all times. Whereas in terms of players that, sometimes he can't even put into the squad, how bad he feels about, having these guys that he can't give opportunities and stuff. I tend to agree with David. I was going to ask you guys this later on, but I guess let's jump in this conversation since it came up. But
twisting them knives early doors.
I mean, do you see him in the squad next year? I guess the biggest thing that's going to change from this year to next year will be the fact that there will be 5 subs. So we will be able to give more minutes and spread it out a bit more. Does that affect, like, I was going to ask you guys about Taki as well. Well, since David mentioned Ox, let's start with Ox. Does that affect that, you think, in terms of him staying?
I mean, it's got to. There's been rumors, and I know it's already getting to the crazy rumor start of the season, at the end of the season, if you know what I mean. Bowen for Ox plus what you would imagine a healthy price tag.
Sold.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, like David said, it doesn't look good. I know we talked probably a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago. We were all saying, maybe there's 5 chances that Ox could have had, and this was 2 months ago, remember, that Ox could have had to get out onto the pitch, and he's with all that time's been and gone, and he's not going to feature at the weekend. That's just not going to happen, barring miracles. And I know we had 9 changes there, and David rightly mentioned Taki. That was his first Premier League start this season.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
So yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, there's a lot to be said about these players on the fringe, Divock included, and we all know the long history he's had with being a bit part player and a silent partner and coming on and doing the business, and Taki as well. Let's not forget his endeavors in the cup runs. Been an absolute fantastic player for Liverpool. And just to clarify, yeah, Taki's, that was his first Prem start, yeah. But let's not forget his great cup runs. I kind of said in my local little chat group here in Wilmington, North Carolina, I was like, who's going to be our hero today against Southampton? Because you've always got that feeling as a Liverpool player that your chance is going to come. Harvey Elliott talks about it. He's like, I haven't been training well, but whenever I do get picked, that's your time to shine. And as much as these players have done and taken their chance as best as possible, it's hard to see Liverpool not doing a lot of mid-tier business in the summer. It could be potentially a lot going out and maybe a few quality youngsters coming in.
Yeah, and I think, Taki is probably like the big. It's odd, David, because he has been very productive. If you look at his numbers in terms of how many minutes he's had and what he's produced, and I realize some of them are skewed because let's say it's against Shrewsbury or something like that, during the League Cup, but still overall, if you look at his minutes and what he's produced, but when you look at who is above him, it's kind of, can you ever make a case for Taki to start in a Premier League game, especially when we added, let's say everything being the way they are in terms of the squad, Mo, Mane staying, and now you have Diaz, Bobby, Jota. Do you ever see a situation where, as David Rice, you say, you know what, I'd rather have Taki start this game?
No, To put it simply. Those 5 players that you mentioned are ridiculously talented and they're world class. And don't get me wrong, Takumi Minamino is really good. He's the leading scorer in both the FA Cup and League Cup runs, right? So this is not to say that he's shite by any means, but he's, I think they bought him they thought they were going to get more of like a Bobby Firmino type performances out of him. And it kind of became clear quickly that that's not what we were going to get. Now they're starting to experiment. You're seeing him play out in those wide roles, and it's starting to pan out a little bit. Like, he's played really well out there. So look, if he can be a guy that can drop either side of a center forward or play as a number 10 in behind, if you wanted to do that, he still has value. I think as a 5th attacker, should you go into injury crisis mode like we did with the center backs last year, say that happens on the front line and Taki's got to slide in, that's not a bad option by any means. But it's whether or not he's willing to do that, because I think he's 26 maybe.
Yeah, I think so, somewhere around there.
He's still in his mid-20s. He's in his prime, and as a forward, I think you want to be playing all the time. So it comes down to, well, what does this kid want to do? If he wants to stay and he wants to fight for a place, hey, he's got the quality, he's got the attitude. That's clear. Klopp likes him, so he could do it. But if he said to himself, "No, I need to play every week," he is a leader in the Japan squad. So if he feels like he needs to play every week, then maybe he has to move on, and that's totally understandable from a man management perspective. But is he getting in over Diaz, Salah, or Mane? No, not anytime soon.
I just feel like he will get, when we have those 5 substitutions next year, he will definitely get a lot more Premier League minutes as compared to like what he did. I think if we talked about it, and we did talk about it. I should probably say when we talked about it, like 4, 5, 6 months ago, we were kind of debating, will Taki be here? He wasn't what we expected, but it was a small investment. We'll still make money on him when we sell him.
I thought that was part of why we bought him. I started to believe that it was really kind of like flipping a house, essentially. Buy him for $7.5 million or whatever it was, and you have a couple of good seasons with him, have a little fun, and then off you go for 15 to 20. And you could easily get that for him now. But I don't know what's going to happen with him. He's a kind of a wild card, because I think Klopp does like him, and you can see his work ethic. You see the way he plugs into the squad, and everyone likes him. So,
and that's the thing. We were saying that, Jamie, but now you fast forward like these 5-6 months, the contributions he's done in the cup, especially since we won both of them. And, even in a game like this, where he is needed, he delivers, he gets a rare opportunity and he makes the most of it. We always joke whenever we see Ox over there, I always jump in and say, great opportunity for Ox. Well, this is great opportunity for Taki, and he makes the most of it. So it almost feels like now, and I think he kind of likes that role, knowing he will get these opportunities and he will probably get more of them next year. So it's a lot easier to see him staying over Ox now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love your bit, David, that he's a semi-detached, fully furnished, centrally located, close to the bar, ample parking.
Wait. Only you are looking for that in a house, probably. Is it close to a bar?
Right.
I thought you were gonna say close to Metro.
Like I said, ticks all the boxes. But yeah, I've got it written down there early. Like I said, he started his first Premier League game, but he started 8 games for Liverpool this season. He's got 7 goals, 1 assist. Somebody said he's registered 10 shots and got 9 goals or something like that. Like, his goal was amazing. All he needs is 2 touches to set him up, and it's a narrow angle, and it's a head down striker's goal near post. He just hits it with power right where he wants to, near post. He's a great player, and like David said, if he wants to stay and fight and maybe not play every week but be used as a bit part player, we're going to need a couple of them. We've famously done well with bit part players, like we've said, Divock Origi, and Yeah. If Ox goes, I think it'd be nice to hold on to Taki, because kind of like what we've all said, like, you know, he is that skeleton key. You could play him in a Bobby Firmino role up against the lower team. You could play him out on the right. You could play him out on the left if possibilities allow. But yeah, I think he's a quality player, and if we don't hold on to him, somebody with not the greatest squad like we are blessed with is going to have a great player on their hands, and like David said, a quality international.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's just his ability to be able to come in for different players, play in central, play on the wing and stuff. I think he would be a great squad player. And I think that's a lot of things will change if we kept going with the three subs. I think there was going to be a lot more decisions to be made with the squad. I think that five kind of like changes the entire landscape because, you know, we always talked about, you know, club substitution patterns and like how they always come after the 80th minute and things like that. But we've seen in the Champions League where he does take advantage of it at times and gets, you know, when the game is under control or when something is coming up, he's able to like divide up the minutes 60-30 or whatever it might be. So I think that whole five sub thing in the Premier League kind of like changes the entire squad lineup, which I'm sure we'll have the entire summer to talk about. So going back to the game, I don't want to go into too many of the specifics, but David, like, what did you make of it overall? And then I wanted to kind of ask you guys about something about the defense as well. But overall, what do you make of what you saw?
It was a really professional performance, very gritty at times when it needed to be. They get the goal. It's a good goal. It's well taken. Granted, it gets a little bit of a deflection, but it's a good goal. And then the way they respond is pretty much perfect. That's what I want from a red side. As you go down one, nobody hangs their head. Everybody just picks it back up. All these guys look like they've been playing for like on a regular basis, and most of them have been sitting pretty much the majority of the season. For him to come on and bang that thing top corner, like Jamie said, when he's not seen the pitch in how long, that was really impressive to me. And the way, he took that first touch and just the flow of the goal, like, Gomez really bangs it in at Jota, and Jota just sort of calms it down and slides it into Minamino's path. It's beautiful. I just think they're so composed, and they're so they've all got the faith. Let's put it that way. They've all believe at any given time that they're going to do it. And the second one, is it a little bit fortuitous? Yeah. But, I think the announcer said it best. He said, fortune favors the brave.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm a big believer. You make your own luck. And that's what they did. They just kept going and going and going. And then when they got the lead, you've got some composed heads on the pitch at that point, and Henderson and Milner slid to right back, and they're just going, just control this thing, like, let's not let it get out of hand. It's exactly the kind of performance that wins you titles. And, I think I saw the other day, Manchester United have won 7 titles with less than 86 points.
Yeah.
We're just living in this Manchester City reality where this is the only time in history where you play as good as these Reds do, and you don't walk away with it automatically. So,
yeah, I think it's like odd to have two teams that are so dominant, and there's like a huge drop off afterwards. I mean, I was looking at the standings earlier today, and I was like, "Holy cow!" There's like a huge drop off there. Right. So here's the biggest question I wanted to ask. So we'll start with you, Jamie. I mean, you look at this game, and wanted to see where you guys are at with this. I mean, there's 2 center backs we have, and what a difference a year makes, right? I mean, from shoving anybody and everybody back there as a center back a year ago. Now you look back there, you're playing one of them as a right back. Our boy Reese is on the bench, but you have Matip and Konate. And honestly, I think you could have made a case for either one of them for man of the match this game. What do you make of it? And I guess, who is your preference for, let's say, the final coming up, for example?
Here he is with the knives again, David. Saves them. He saves them. He's hoarding these knives until the Thursday pod. I swear he is. I mean, Konate is, I keep saying he's European quality. He has waltzed into this team. Maybe they don't do the waltz in France, but what do they do? I don't know. He's just, casually entered the best European lineup at a canter, and is beginning to express himself. You can see his passing range is good. He maybe doesn't have that Matip adventure streak in him, but then again, not many centre backs do. But Canada is yet to lose. These 22 wins and like 5 draws or something. I mean, at 22, imagine him at 26. Imagine him in 4 years' time, and then imagine him in 4 years after that. And then we're still only talking about a 30-year-old, and that's prime time for a centre back. I mean, I think he's amazing. I think like that interview that he had with Trent. Trent said his ceiling is sky high. I truly believe that. I think not only that, I think beside somebody as accomplished as Virgil van Dijk and Joel Matip, I think you're going to learn the tricks of the trade, and all of a sudden that 22-year-old isn't quite as naive as you would imagine because he's had that European quality. For me, I think he's box office. When he picked up Fred and just put him over here, like that was it for me. When you can show that fire and when you can show that fire and smile in the face of that kind of adversity, I thought that's another notch on his bedpost. He's not shook easily. Like he's not daunted by any sort of challenge. But again, all that being said, Matip's brilliant. So I mean, I can't answer your question, Timucin. Next.
That's a win for me, baby. So, David, let me come to you. Let me throw a knife at you then. I mean, I guess to me, and I don't know if this is because we have not seen enough of him or due to his age, as much as I love both of them, and I feel like Konate is probably the future Van Dijk for this club, right? I mean, in terms of, like being that centerpiece of a defense, he definitely has the potential for it. But I feel like if I'm going into a big game, and unless we're going against somebody like very physical, I trust Matip more in terms of not making a blunder. Is that just me? And it's just that's due to the fact that we haven't seen enough of Konate, or just his age, or do you even agree to like kind of like my overall hunch, sense, whatever you want to call it?
Pessimism.
Or that. That's probably more dead on, but okay.
I agree that Matip is the choice. There's a few reasons for it. One, so the rest of the way, particularly this season, we're looking at Wolves, and I know Real Madrid is a big club, but if you look at the way that they're kind of approaching things, the way they approach things against City, I'd imagine that they may approach things the same way against us. We're going to have a lot of the ball. It's going to be a lot of us trying to figure out how to get through. To me, Matip is the guy for that challenge. He's a little bit of not that Konate is a bad passer, but Joel Matip is a really good passer. He's also got that adventure in him. There's this visualization, data visualization going around I saw the other day, and I'll have to share it with you guys. But it basically maps out all the center backs in the world across 4 categories, and it's like ball progressions, pass completion percentage, tackles 1, this and that, aerial duels 1. Joel Matip, according to the stats, is currently the best center back on the planet. Which is
we don't need a chart for that. Everybody needs that.
No, I know, but we all work in different businesses. People like data, you get it.
Yes. I've got one more fact for you as I was doing my research for the 60-second news. So Matip has won all 8 Premier League games when he has scored. He also has the lowest loss ratio of over 1,000 Premier League players to have played 100 times or more. That's the lowest in the competition's history. He is the lowest loss ratio.
Honestly, if he was not playing next to Van Dijk, I think he would get a lot more credit. And I think what's been impressive in this last game, I know like the Chelsea game, we only saw it for like 15 or 30 minutes or whatever. But, we saw we always say, and I mean, it's not partially, but it's definitely true that obviously Van Dijk makes the person next to him look better than they are. But, it was just them two, and it was a very solid performance. I think if it was playing for another team and wasn't playing next to Van Dijk, David, I think he would probably be touted and probably worth a lot of money to somebody.
Like he's a top class Mercedes Benz rolling out next to a Rolls Royce, right? Like you don't see a Rolls Royce very often. And Van Dijk is a very special player, right? I think, a lot of people will talk about, when it comes to Matip, people will talk about, and I just saw it in the thread too. People will say pace, but actually he just looks goofy. It's not that Matip doesn't have pace. It's just that he looks awkward doing it. He has a ton of pace, actually. If you go back a year or so, him and Virgil were the two fastest guys in the squad, which was crazy to me. I couldn't believe it. But if you watch the way he makes up ground, Matip can keep up with most anybody. Just Konate's got a little bit better swagger, right? He just looks a little bit cooler doing it. I like Konate. If Klopp played him, I wouldn't be like upset about it. But I think for the challenges that we face, Matip is the guy. And that's going to change over the next couple of years. Joel's 30. Konate's this up and coming, like we said, he's the next Rolls Royce, right? He's the next Van Dijk. He could be, we don't even know what he could be. The ceiling there is no ceiling at this point. So, and I still can't believe the way he settled into the squad. We've had two guys this year that I cannot believe the way that they settled in. One is him, and the other one is Diaz. And so, this isn't a knock on him at all. I just really, really believe in Joel Matip and what he's done, his experience, the way that he approaches the game, the way that he interacts with his teammates, in a final when things get gritty, when things get tough. That's the guy I want out there. The guy that, has built up that trust over years. Konate is going to have a lot of finals ahead of him. He just had his first FA Cup final, and he won it. He won, and he played in the League Cup final too. He's already got two finals under his belt this season. So he's having a great year for a 22-year-old kid.
Yeah, I mean, it's unreal.
Is there an argument to maybe start Konate for his physicality, and then bring in Joel Matip around the 60-minute mark for a bit of adventure?
I think that's the thing. I think it depends on how the opponent plays more than, and it's like
Depending
kind of like
how the game plans out
before the game in terms of what we're expecting. Like you're saying, David, and I agree. If we're playing against a team that's going to sit back, Matip is a better choice. But if what Mateusz is mentioning in the chat in terms of like his speed and I think not only speed, I think Matip, he has like the giraffe running going. So his one step equals like probably 3-4 steps of us. So it's kind of like he can make up ground really fast. But I think one thing that Konate brings is a lot more physicality when you're like shoulder to shoulder. I know Matip wins a lot of like headers, like, like his stats are really good. But when you're running shoulder to shoulder somebody, I mean, freaking Konate is so strong. The person next to him, regardless of who they are, eventually feels like they collapse. They just can't keep up with the speeds and the and the strength at the same time, because those are kind of like two different variables. And afterwards, as you're fighting that strength, you kind of lose the speed. You just can't keep up with both. The dude seems to have both. So I think it's a matter of kind of like guessing what the other team is going to do. So we pick the right center back.
But either one's going to play next to Virgil van Dijk, so it's going to be fun.
I guess, yeah. That's it. So before we go back to this weekend, I'm going to kind of like take your guys' guesses. I think we'll probably be on the same page for the most part. I was going to actually talk about this anyway and get your guys' take, but then we saw even more field invasions going on today with Everton celebrating and setting up the parade for staying in the Premier League. So first off, let me ask you guys that, because I did see a lot of like different takes on it, and obviously a lot of like mocking of it as well. But Jamie, let's start with you. Let's throw the knife at you. In terms of Everton fans, kind of, I mean, it was more like a celebration of relief than anything else. Cause, I kind of like look at a lot of like different like fan TV channels and stuff like that as we kind of prepare to launch our like YouTube channel full force ourselves. And I mean, those guys had given up before the United game and stuff because they considered those as losses. So it was a shocker for them to like win those games anyway. But what do you make of that in terms of them kind of like invading the pitch and celebrating like they won the title?
Well, look, tongue firmly in my cheek here. Like you said, it was like they won something, and one of my Scouse mates messaged and said it's as if they won something. Like maybe we're gonna have to stop singing since 1995 because they acted like they won something. And you know what? Fair play to them. Again, tongue firmly in cheek. 250 million's on the line. And whilst we're off celebrating cup runs and trophies and possibly another record-breaking season in many more ways than we could have ever imagined, they're celebrating hanging on by the skin of their arse. And, let them, who cares? You know what I mean? It's like, all right, you're celebrating, everybody was joking in the Discord chat, let them have their parade around Merseyside on the 30th after we've shown them what real silverware looks like. Yeah, it's laughable. But 250 million is not to be laughed at. But then again, they're probably just going to blow it on a load of shite players too. So, I mean, they're a club destined for more trouble. And I was going to start off my Liverpool 60-second news with Liverpool have guaranteed 6 more points next season. But I mean, look, if the gods had shat on us and we were blue noses and we were all Everton fans, we'd probably be celebrating too. I can't begrudge them that because look, they've had to deal with being Everton fans their whole lives. So let them have a little slice of joy, if you can call it that.
Exactly. I would start with echoing your same point. Like, what have they had to celebrate for some time? Not a lot. This is their moment to feel happy about something. You got to let them have it. And I for one thought those scenes were all amazing. I was like, oh, good for them. Whatever. The other point I would make too is, if every team goes on a journey, right? Every club is on some kind of journey. We look at ours, and of course we're obsessed with it. So, we maybe sometimes kind of look at other clubs like, I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to keep up with all those different stories, right? I've got a close friend who's an Arsenal supporter, and he's always talking about the journey that they're on. And if you're an Everton supporter, the journey that you've been on is, quite frankly, shite.
Let me just clarify there, David. The Arsenal journey ended the other night too.
Yeah. No, for sure. But you know what I mean? Like, my point is that for Everton, it looked grim. It probably couldn't have looked much
right
than it did.
So it's much more like laughing in the face of danger. Do you know what I mean? Like that, like you're saying, they were destitute.
Exactly. It was like we did it. We did
relief,
die.
not joy. Absolutely, yeah. Relief, not joy.
And I think
sometimes
normally
relief is just as powerful as joy.
And normally I think I would laugh more at it, but we were just talking about, I think it was the Monday podcast with Gally and Bickler about how the league mocked Klopp when he took the team to the stands after that 2-2 tie with West Bromwich Albion. And everybody was like, oh, they're celebrating a draw and stuff. But
it was
to build something, you need something to build on. And we didn't, let's face it, we didn't have a whole lot going on for us too. And thank God Lampard is no club. But, every club kind of like needs something to be able to build up on. Because Klopp was talking about, I think it was after the Southampton game when I mentioned earlier, like he was talking about Taki and Ox and stuff. And he even brought out the fact himself, it almost kind of like slipped a little bit where he said, when you're winning all the time, somebody who's not playing can't come in and say, what's up? like, how come I'm not playing? Because, they see what's going on, so they go with the ride. It's a lot easier to keep a squad happy, everything under control, people getting along when everything is positive. And to build that positive atmosphere, you kind of need some building blocks. So I kind of like was thinking that at the same time. Does it look a little sad and pathetic? Yes, but going back to what you were saying, David, I mean, and apart from Matush says, come on now, they celebrated the first place last year for a few weeks. And, that was the parade for that last year. And this year's parade will be for staying in the Premier League. So, but I don't know if you guys saw this,
man.
In terms of like one of the guys getting in the face of Vera, and he fucking does like a little tackle and like throws him on the ground and stuff like that. I was actually going to talk about this one after the Nottingham Forest game, about like Billy Sharp basically getting clobbered by this fan. And I know, like, the police and everything like that has been involved, but I kind of wanted to get your guys' take on this whole ordeal of fans storming the field. I mean, we see it in the US a lot, especially in like college games and stuff. And I'll be honest, I think it is something that is extremely dangerous, because I know how I would be as a player after a game if I lost. I am not a very everybody in this household can tell you guys I'm not a good loser. So if I just lost the game and I'm walking on and people are running around and like saying stuff to me, kind of like looked like what was happened to Vieira. I mean, these are a lot of competitive people. I feel like it is extremely dangerous. Mateus says he's one arrest for the. I had seen that, like they made an arrest, but I don't know if it was the guy and he's a season ticket holder. I mean, he loses ticket and stuff like that. But one guy is gone, and now there's another 50,000 potential dangers out there. I mean, what do you think, David? Like, how do you even change that, get ahead of that, or are we gonna wait till something really bad happens?
I mean, it's it's a policing question, right? Like at the end of the day, they've got to keep people from coming onto the pitch. I would prefer that they didn't do it like they do in Italy, where they put cages up. But, if something does happen, we'll probably see some crap like that. I mean, you're right. It is incredibly dangerous, not even just from interacting with the players, but sometimes fans interacting with each other. You just don't know what's going to happen. Definitely should stay off the pitch. But we as supporters of clubs can get a little wild at times. I think we've all seen it.
Farky says, don't be a fun sucker. And, that's what I do, first of all. But, I mean, I don't know.
But to that point, don't be a fun sucker.
To stop people from invading the pitch, because, they have numbers, But right. I don't know if there's a better way to kind of protect the other team and the refs and stuff and get them out of there safely. Just give up on the fact that, we're not going to stop these people, but let's get these people out of here safe instead. Go ahead, Jamie.
But I mean, like, it happens like that, right? And like David's saying, the Italians and look, Liverpool, we know the 97s on the back of our shirts. We all know what happened at Leppens Lane. And those cages, so that'll never happen. I don't think in exactly Sparky Parky is bringing up the point I'm getting to. The cages, I don't think will ever happen in England again because of what we've seen. The Italians, God love them, cages and they have, some of them have jail cells still in their prisons. Or in their prisons, they have jail cells in their.
I would hope so, yeah.
yeah, right. But yeah, I mean, it's maddening that one fan can ruin it for us all. And Alan Walnut says he's been sent to prison for 24 weeks. I think that's laughable. 24 weeks. I mean, he's endured much more pain being a Nottingham Forest fan his whole life.
Time served.
Yeah, exactly. 24 weeks.
He's already out.
But I mean, a season ticket holder or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, the fact of the matter is, look, I've got a lot to say on this, so I'll try and make it concise. He hit that man with the full force of running, and Billy Sharp was stood there still, not expecting a damn thing. He could have broke his neck. He could have killed him. There could have been a death there. And by what I'm saying, by one person ruin it for us all, it has us discussing this cages idea, which we all know the atrocities of Hillsborough. We all know what happened there. And still to this day, people, other fans other than Liverpool, don't get the gravity of what happened in that situation. Otherwise, you wouldn't have this death mark and you wouldn't have these idiots singing these chants. What happened that day should never, ever happen again. And I don't know. I just find it's very hard to stomach that one fan could ruin it for himself. He could have killed that man. He could have killed Billy Sharp. It's absolutely disgusting. When I seen it, I was livid. And you know what? I hope he does go to jail. And I hope those 24 weeks are the hardest of his life. And I hope other football fans are there. And I hope they absolutely go through him. I hope they run through him.
Well, and there's one other piece of this too that's concerning to me, and that is, you've probably heard as they debated safe standing some of the things that were said by police constables about football fans. They still to this day like to demonize football fans, right? And
yep.
Behavior like this almost, I mean, not in my eyes, but in some eyes will lend credibility to what they're saying. And it's going to be used as an argument to continue to treat people like animals. And if you treat people like animals, they'll act like animals. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how it is.
One more thing on that as well, though. Sorry, David. One more thing on it as well. There was another clip of, was it the Nottingham Forest player who was supposed to be holding down one of these, or maybe it wasn't the Nottingham Forest player, but somebody held a fan down by his boot on his throat, like was standing on him. Not in the ways that we've seen, but the fact of the matter is he put his boot onto one of these pitch invaders. There's been a lot of grief about that as well. How dare that player do this to blah blah blah. You invade the pitch. At that point it becomes a security breach. These players are then fearing for their lives. In all honesty, fearing for their lives. Take a look at what Billy Sharp. I think it's crazy. And look, I've had friends who've been banned from stadiums for taking a beer onto the pitch. I've got a couple of Geordie mates. He took a beer out onto the concourse. He got banned. He got banned for a year. So. Look, I get the idea of lager-fueled louts out for a riot and they're just hooligans and all this bullshit. Obviously, one guy can be the exception here, and he probably did have a bit too much alcohol, but that doesn't necessarily mean. I guarantee you, this guy's an arsehole no matter what, no matter how many pints he's had.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
he's that way when he wakes up in the morning. I mean.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the problem. It's, it is one asshole that does it. Sparky Parker says it was a Sheffield United player stands on fan. And I mean, it becomes, because that's their pitch. And I don't blame, because he's going against, I mean, it's risky on the Sheffield United players too, because while you're doing that, you don't know what everybody else is going to do. And
I'd be straight up Sparta. Imagine them, all 11 of them, like Sparta, side by side, like just.
And honestly, I mean, this is definitely a great topic for us on a podcast during the summer to kind of delve into different examples and stuff like that. But I mean, I see a lot of this in. I mean, you mentioned the Italian league. You should see the freaking Turkish league. It makes the Italian league, and I don't even get it. I really don't even get it. They'll be doing stuff, throwing stuff while Fenerbahce is winning, and I'm like, what is happening? What is that?
Well, it's,
and then Alwan says probably Patrick Vieira is going to be in trouble. Why would he be in trouble? If the guy's invading the pitch, getting in his space, he doesn't physically contact him, but it definitely gets into his personal space. I don't know if you guys have been able to see the video yet, but I would protect myself too. And like you say, you're kind of going at somebody who just lost the game, and honestly, you just freaking won a game. Why are you going and headbutting the dude? Why are you going to Vieira's face? You just saved your season as an Everton fan. Like, what does he have to do with it? Go freaking celebrate. But I was getting back to like the Turkish league thing, and I see some stuff where it's not one person. I think we always, to protect the game, to protect us fans, sometimes we try to simplify it and say it's one person. It's not one person.
No.
Around that one person is 100 enablers, or even worse, 30 people who join in and another couple of hundred enablers. I think, when you have that kind of behavior, it's not like one guy throwing stuff in these games. There's like a bunch of stuff flying in. So it's never one guy. It's like the crowd sheep. I don't even know what it is. I've never gone to a game and had the urge to like hurt somebody else. I just don't get it. I can't even comprehend it. I don't know what the concept is, but go ahead, David. You're about to say something.
No, I was just going to say it's the same thing when we see, English clubs sometimes or England's national team go away and they take over a town square. And then there's some video online of somebody racially abusing someone or doing something messed up to a woman or whatever. Right. And it's like, oh, it's just one guy. It's like, well, no, because the rest of you were there and you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So it's not just one guy. It's all of you. Like, you have to own it. You know what I mean? Like, you just have to own it. And unless you're going to start getting better and start essentially policing ourselves in some ways and saying like, hey, this is not acceptable. This is fine, but this isn't, then at some point we do have to take ownership of it as fans of clubs. I mean, I know a few Chelsea fans, and I'm kind of like, I've seen some of the behavior that comes out of their fan base on the road. How do you reconcile that?
Right.
You can't just tell me it's one guy because the rest of you are just sitting there. So
yeah, it's mob mentality, 100%. It's take a look at the Everton game. They were just throwing pieces of paper, but it kept going on, and they even tried to keep the ball. Like, they were playing for a win to get out of relegation, and they were keeping the ball, like, and throwing papers at their own players and stuff. Like, there was a corner flag or a corner kick over by the corner flag. They were just throwing stuff at their own player trying to take a corner. I mean, it absolutely, and David, you make a fantastic point. The older heads in the stadium absolutely should and probably do police these young idiots. But at that point, when, you're probably fooled by a few jars and that fight or flight kind of thing is your adrenaline's pumping, and it's somebody jumps the fence, next one jumps the fence, and then it's all bets are off. It's mob mentality, and I think the more mature ones absolutely will police their own. But yourself, it's like trying to get through to these kids these days is a nightmare. So like you said, when that first sheep jumps the fence, it's too late.
The wars are over.
And this is definitely a topic that we should probably delve into more. I'm not that we'll ever be able to solve it, but I mean, Sparky Parky says this. I remember a few years ago, police used to make a corridor to get players off the pitch, but the cost of policing is so high, less policing the game. I mean, and you know what? You're not going to have 1-for-1. You're never going to have 50,000 cops there. I mean, I remember when we went to Istanbul with my wife. It was her first time in Turkey, and of course, we're in Istanbul. We're going to a Fenerbahce game, and happened to be a Beşiktaş game. Who is like another Istanbul team. It's not the huge rivalry that's,
but it's still great.
Fenerbahce Galatasaray has, but it's still like a local derby game, and it's pretty big. And I remember, like, when we left, she was like, "What are all those buses?" And I was like, "Yeah, those are for the cops," because they were like hundreds of buses.
Yeah.
And this is, like, they only get like a little corners, like, basically, and they can't leave for like hours till everything clears so the cops can escort them. But you can never have that many cops. It's just, it's Darren says I put it all down to Green Street hooligans. I mean, there is like a documentary on, I think it's on Amazon. If it's not there, it's about actually like how these hooligan Turkish fans got together to be like doing a protest for like a park for like actually a good cause. but it shows their like hooligan side, and it's just like, what are you guys doing? What is wrong with you guys? But that's a different story. So we'll get to that another game. Let's look ahead to the weekend real quick. So I'll throw the knife at you first, Jamie. For this weekend, obviously, apart from Fab, do you start your first 11? Or I guess like the key people to be thinking about is something like someone like Van Dyke, because while you want to save him, you probably don't want to have him have no action and then first action be the pace of the Champions League final. So what do you do for a lineup if you are the man?
If I'm the man in charge,
you are the man.
If I'm the man in charge, I'm treating this as a trial run, and I would probably start my best 11 and look to change maybe one or two and keep and hold one sub back. I would probably start. I would probably start Kanate. I would probably start Hendo, Thiago. I would maybe have an eye to starting Millie. Well, no, actually not Millie because he took a bit of a knock. Maybe Jones again. I mean, I know there was a lot of talk about Curtis Jones against Southampton. I thought he done well. I think that role in that three, when you've got Milner, Harvey, and Jones, he was kind of doing the job of two or three men, and he's still young and still learning his trade, and he's been in and out of the squad. He hasn't. I would probably start Jones, but I would treat it as a trial run and still as an audition for some maybe fringe players to with an eye at being the first sub maybe in Paris. Yeah, I definitely would. I absolutely treat it with all the respect it deserves. We need our 3 points no matter what, but I would treat it as a bit of a trial run.
See, Matur says, unpopular opinion, but I'm starting the entire Champions League final 11 as long as they're healthy. And I find that very popular to me.
Yeah,
I agree. If anything, I mean, obviously Fab is not going to be there. So maybe Keita instead of Fab. But I think I'm starting Matip this game just because kind of like what we were talking about. We're probably going to be playing a team that's going to be playing like defense. But I felt like, Diaz, Mo, Mo wants to be out there with,
well, he needs his goals.
He needs his goals, and Son is playing against Norwich, so one goal is a given almost. So how about you, David? Like, who do you have out there? I was gonna put Diaz, Mane, Mo up top. I don't know if you would put Bobby over there, maybe Rasmani or something like that. But aside from that, I think I'm starting the 11 so that it's almost like a kind of like what Matush is alluding to, like a prep for the finals, except Keita for Fab. What do you do?
Yeah, no, I'm going out there like I know that Philippe Coutinho is going to bag a hat trick, and this thing's all we got to do is win. No, you're right. I'm putting in the back line that you would expect with Matip in there because I do think that I do think he is the best player for this matchup. And then the thing is, Naby Keita has done different roles this season. I don't think he's getting enough credit for how much he's changed as a player a little bit. Like he's doing dirty work. He's doing jobs. Yeah. He's not doing the stuff that we signed Naby Keita to do necessarily, but he's doing the stuff Gini Wijnaldum was doing.
Yes.
He's doing the stuff that Jurgen's just asking him. Like, I don't need you to go change the game, lad. I need you to go stick into this space. Shut that fucker down.
Yeah.
And just stay, keep us in these areas. And work with these two players to run that side. And he's just done that really well. I thought he did it well in the final. So, I think it picks itself like Hendo, Thiago, Keita, and then what your front three is. And I'm, going to Jota first chance I get so that he can bag one in front of his old boys and win the title.
What I will say, though, is Bobby looks sharp. I guess
Bobby.
That's great. That's a great thing because if we need Bobby off the bench, wow. He looks sharp.
You do. I think one of the hardest things for us to replace. Now we signed Diaz and we moved Mane into the middle, and Mane has been fantastic in the middle, kind of doing a little bit of Bobby bits, but doing a lot of Mane things as well.
Yeah.
So anytime you're getting that, it's a good thing.
Right.
But one of the things
It's just a different thing when you see Bobby, isn't it? It's like a completely.
well, he's just, I say it all the time. He's one of the best defenders on the team.
Yeah.
When he drops back and he's putting pressure on their midfield from behind and putting pressure on all their defenders, and then you have the two wingers can close in behind him and he creates using that. He changes the game. And when Jota was in the middle for a while, I felt like, man, we're really missing Bobby. Not that Jota wasn't trying or he wasn't doing good things. I don't know how he's only 5'7" and scored this many headers, but still, I thought we were missing something, particularly defensively. And that was in that like kind of December, January time period where Bobby was like completely out for a while. So, there's always an argument to get Bobby into the team because very few people understand the role that he plays enough to basically imitate it. And
yeah, as I kept watching the Southampton game, I kept saying, man, I was like, man, I miss Bobby because it was, we've seen him like come back from the injury, not being himself, and just I was like, man, I miss this guy. Like some of the things he does, like you're saying, like winning the ball, creating space, like moving around and stuff like that. And I was like, oh man, good to see him back. And I think I agree with the Keita point. I think and I've been saying this, the Monday boys always make fun of me because I'm probably the harshest critic of Keita, but I think when he plays within himself and doesn't try to do, be extra creative and stuff like that, he plays the best. And going back to what you were talking about, Jamie, I think that's when Curtis suffers, where he tries to be like, let me be the creator, let me be the guy. And I think he kind of overtries, sometimes keeps the ball too long, doesn't move the ball around and stuff. And I think that's when fans kind of get on him because he might lose that ball and he might slow the offense down. I feel like if Curtis plays within himself, takes the opportunities he gets and stop trying to duplicate that goal he scored against Everton over and over again, I think he'll be a lot better player because you can see his quality out there. Sometimes I feel like he thinks he has to kind of like really show himself and it kind of hurts him. Prediction time. Let's get one for the game and tell me, Jamie, Sunday are we? And here's the catch, by the way. Here's my Sunday drama. First, I thought I was gonna miss this. My daughter's Jasmine is graduating. She's going on to master's, but she's graduating from college on Sunday. So first, I was like, "Oh shit!" I'm like, but I think I'm basically. Wifey has made arrangements where I think they're just going to drop me off at the pub in the morning. So I'm going to be with the Milwaukee Sports Club watching the games and then going to the graduation. Am I going to be the happiest game in graduation, or am I going to be like proud, but a little sorrow at the same time, Jamie? What is your prediction?
So look, already in the comments, Parky and Alan Walnut, two completely different sides of the fish here. I went for the 2-1 win against Southampton and called it right. So you can all blame me for the heart attacks. I'm officially done with the heart attacks for the season. I'm all out quad material now. So let's go with the Alan Walnut shout for the 3-0 win for the good guys. And let's not stop there, shall we? You know what I mean? Let's go the full hog.
So I'm the happiest guy in graduation. Sounds good to me. What do you have?
You're going to be jumping up and annoying everybody in the middle of the recording. It's going to be beautiful.
William Defoe is going to be there, by the way. I'm pretty excited about this as the person giving the speech. So, and I'm going to be there as the guest of honor. But David, what do you have for the score?
And I'm going to go 4-0 to the Reds, 3-0 to the Villa, 7-0 on the day.
See, Sparky Parky already says City will win. I hate it.
What's going to happen? They're going to be up like 1-0, and then Villa's going to get an equalizer, and they're going to crack. I'm telling you, the City team does not do adversity. They're going to crack, and Villa's going to get a winner somewhere.
Yeah, my heart says that. I am hopeful. I mean, I guess like a lot of people are like, no, I am hopeful because I agree they can crack. I just don't think it's the right team going against them. Can Villa get a couple of goals against them? That's the only thing. I don't think Villa can shut them out. That's never going to be a 0-0.
No, it's going to be like 2-2.
But Villa can score against them, and man, I would kill and I might forgive Coutinho for life
Oh, I'm
if
singing
he-
his song if he scores. Forget it.
So we will be back Monday. I will see. Yeah, that's going to be an odd Sunday for everybody. But hey, man, I mean, these boys have had some season, brought us all the way here. It's freaking unreal. I mean, when you put it in the perspective, it's
No matter
freaking
what
unreal.
happens.
And I know some of the newer fans don't understand or appreciate how big of an ordeal like these guys are doing right now. But that's, I mean, it's freaking historic. If you don't understand it, just look at history, I guess. It's freaking historic. So let's hope so. Let's hope so. See, Sparky Parky says hope so. Sparky Parky has my old man syndrome going. No offense. We're both
Wouldn't it just be brilliant though? Because
in the latter years, you get more cynical, a bit more pessimistic. So he knows what I'm talking about. Okay, so we will be back on Monday with the Monday quad. Thanks a lot, gentlemen. And hopefully, maybe we'll do like an impromptu one. I will join from the graduation as William Dafoe is speaking in the background on Sunday. Once we win the title, you never know. So take care, everybody. See you guys next week.
Up the Reds.